Okay, it's time for the next thing. We're gonna shape our dough. It has been through our bulk fermentation phase. This dough, sticking to the lid a little bit. This dough is ready to go. It is more than doubled. Here's a picture of what it looked like before. Now it's time to shape some dough. Okay, so let's consider this our presentation side. I know we're going to divide it, but this is a beautiful smooth surface of dough, and it's expanded really nice. It's got lots of air in it. It's real pillowy. You can see it kind of jiggle. We're going to put some tension into it when we shape it, but we want to be kind of thoughtful of how we manipulate it so we're not like crushing all the air out of it. Now I do know that I could squish it down, squish all the air out of it, shape it, and it will recover and expand all over again, at least one time. But it's going to take a long time to do that. So we want to, kind of be respectful of keeping all this air that it's developed over the last, depending on your environment, 4 to 8 hours. Flour, a light coating of flour. Maybe that was a teaspoon, just to give you kind of an idea. And I'm going to spread it over the surface of the dough. And then we're going to use our fingertips and gravity to get this on our work surface. And I just have this extra piece of granite that I like to use to shape stuff on, because I can just go wash it and put it away. You can work on your granite countertop, or if you have like butcher block or some other surface that works, go for it. Tile would not be something I'd recommend working directly on. Okay, so I'm gonna use my fingertips. I'm gonna use gravity. I'm not gonna rip it out. I'm gonna be kind of gentle, like when we were stretching and folding, we could just kind of like pull it out and it'd be stretched and it would help us to kind of just tuck, tuck, fold, fold. Not here. So I'm gonna go real gentle. I know you can't see me, but maybe you can see me over here, kinda. So I'm just going around the inside of the bowl. You can see I'm turning the bowl and just kind of getting towards the bottom of it, trying to release my dough. And it's going to end up going upside down. So that presentation side, I'm also maintaining the shape. So the presentation side is going down. There's our bowl, clean. As clean as I'd expect. And here's this beautiful like circle of dough that's ready to be manipulated. Now, this is an 800 gram batch. And if you add up 800 and 600, our water, flour water, and our salt, 16, and our starter 160, we should get 15 something. I already did the math on this. I know that when I divide it, the equal parts are going to be 788 neighborhood, because maybe I had 603 grams of water and 804 grams of flour, so more or less. So if you wanted to make sure that this is perfectly equal, we take our bowl that's pretty clean, put it on a scale, zero it out, and we can divide this in half and weigh each half and try and really dial them in. Or you can just eyeball it and cut it in half. So bench scraper, and I'll weigh it just cause, see how close I can get. This side looks a little fatter. I'm gonna go this way. So I press down and just cut right through it. Make a little space, kind of pull it apart. We're just going in halves. And I'm gonna bet that this one's heavier. It feels heavier. It looks heavier, looks bigger. Whoa, I'm stuck. Okay. So I'm gonna put it into the bowl and we'll see what this guy weighs. 814. So it's pretty close, but I'm off by like a little bit. There you go. So let's see, what did I take off here? Easier to weigh just that little piece. 30 grams. So let me break down. That'd be close enough. That'd be neighborhood. I'm just going to stick it to the top. So now I have 2 pieces of dough. I can get rid of all this. And we're going to put some tension into them. Just like when we were stretching and folding, we were putting tension into the dough in that phase. We're going to do the same thing here before we load them into these bannetons. What is a banneton? Wicker basket. And I have 2. They're 9-inch, and it's about the right size for on the small side, like maybe I'm stuck again, 350 gram batch of dough to like 500. Maybe you could squeeze a 6 in there. 6 is kind of like really pushing it, in my opinion. But we're going to shape these. So to do that, 75% is a pretty manageable dough. I'm not going to stitch it. If it were more slack, if it were say like a 80% hydration dough, I might do some stitching, and that's fancy and cool, and people like doing that and seeing people do it, but not appropriate for this dough. I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to bring my 12 o'clock side to the middle, and I'm going to bring my 6 o'clock side over my 12 o'clock side. So think of it as an envelope fold versus rolling it up. If you roll your dough up, when you bake it, in the end, it can look like there's a spiral in it, especially if you have over-floured that other side of your dough, because that flour will make it so you see more of where the dough's connected to itself. So here we go. I'm going to pull this up and down to the middle, and I'm going to take this other side, I'm going to pull it kind of over and stick it to itself. So from here, this seam side is going down on my work surface, and I'm going to tuck the end in and underneath. So in, underneath, however you want to think about it. I'm just kind of gathering it under. And if you think about like when we stretch and folded the dough, we were bringing the dough underneath and into itself, and it was sticking together. Same kind of things happening here. And my fingers feel a little sticky, so I'm just tapping in a little bread flour. Flour is good, but at the same time, it can prevent your dough from sticking to itself and really, sealing up those seams. Okay, so I did that end, and I said, be respectful of the air, but don't be afraid to move your dough around. So now I'm kind of folding this side under, big air pocket there. I'm okay to get rid of it. If you have big air pockets on the sides, they will come out funny. The crust will be kind of hollow there from being in the banneton and drying out. And I'm looking to create tension here, and I kind of want to see from, let's see, can I flip it your way? I will. I'll move the cutting board. So there's a big hole, big air pocket right there. Adios. It's just too much. I don't want it. So I'm kind of smearing it under until it kind of looks like, would you say it looks like it's sort of floating off the work surface? So something like that. And I'm trying to decide, I want it to sit for just a little bit and gather those seams under, let them stick together. So I'm trying to just move it over off of my cutting board to the side a little bit so I got this other guy a little more space. I know, I'm fidgeting with it. I want it to be an equal size, so I'm just kind of redistributing where I'm pushing it so it's a similar size, consistent size, all the way from end to end. So I like that. And then we're going to go this one, same thing. We're take that 12 o'clock, stretch it, pull it down, and then I can take the 6 o'clock, kind of same thing, bring it up and over. And these are, now that they're each like, a 400-gram batch of dough. They're much smaller, much easier to handle. If you're trying to shape like an 800-gram batch of dough into a giant like 13-inch banneton, so you see it sticking to my fingers, I'm not afraid to add a little flour because it is sticky enough to tolerate it. But a much larger batch of dough would be a lot more to handle here. I'd probably go on my granite surface. So why was this one so much easier? Because I had a little more space. There's a giant air bubble down here. So there's that smear and roll and kind of smear. Get it some tension. So we're using banneton today. Now these are going to go in the fridge for about 8 to 48 hours at the most. These are probably going to get baked. It's like 3 o'clock right now, probably 9 or 10 a.m. tomorrow. So whatever that math is on time. And it'll give it enough time to dry out in the banneton. So we want there to be a skin that forms on the surface of the dough that's in contact with the banneton, so that when we go to score it, it's not only easy to score, but it's going to make it so it has a thicker, crustier crust, which is what makes, a sourdough round or batard just so amazing. So that's really the magic of a banneton. Now let's say So I'm gonna use rice flour. Let's say you don't have rice flour. Rice flour is great, and I really fought it for a long time because I just want to keep things simple and have like one less ingredient. But getting rice flour on the surface and then going to Banneton is way better than bread flour. Bread flour, it will stick, and you have to use a lot, and then you really get stuck with a lot of flour in your end result. You could line the Banneton, and I know the Banneton comes with these fancy liners, but I think they suck because they have these seams that really prevent the dough from settling into the texture, which gives the finished loaf like a really cool look. As an alternative, you don't have rice flour, and if you go bread flour, you're gonna have a hard time getting it out of the Banneton. You can go handkerchief. And these are super thin, like you could almost like see through them, they're so thin. These are excellent as a way to line your Banneton with a liner to prevent sticking if you're using bread flour. But I recommend rice flour. And here's how I like to do it. So container of rice flour. Look, it's a similar size to my loaf of bread, of dough. I'm gonna gently, lightly sprinkle just a little bit all around, on the sides, on the bottom. And then here comes the fancy part where you just gotta be confident in what you're doing here. And kind of the magic of having this on this work surface, I can move it around however I like. A little nugget of dough off my finger. This is gonna go in the Banneton. This dough going in the Banneton. I'm gonna put it in, so here's my presentation side down. Because eventually, after this has been cold proofed and it's time to bake it, it's gonna be in the Banneton. I'm gonna pop it out, and then it's gonna be presentation side up. So this is not like a sandwich loaf where it's in a loaf pan and it gets baked in the loaf pan. It's not getting baked in this. This is just to help it form some shape, to give it some time to dry out in the fridge, to develop more flavor, and to make it more digestible. Okay, let's see. We have a good angle here? I think so. 3-stage type of situation. Dough, rice flour, Banneton. So I feel confident using my hands. You could go bench scraper, but I'm gonna kind of get under it, pick it up. It's going presentation side down to my rice flour. I'm just gonna use the rice flour to kind of coat the sides. Every part of the dough that's gonna be in contact with our Banneton. And that's what it's gonna look like. And, you can see, like, is it sticking together a lot? Enough. I don't need to help it any more than that. The liner makes a great cover. Instead of plastic wrap, which creates condensation, I just put the liner, kind of tent it up a little bit. It's gonna rise a little bit, hopefully not too much, and it's going in the fridge. So there's number 1, and then here's number 2. Same thing, a little bit of rice flour. I'm counting on more of the rice flour on the dough to prevent sticking than really rice flouring up the Banneton. Presentation side down, kind of dig under it, get my rice flour on the dough, and we're going, boom, in the Banneton. Here we go, number 2, ready for the fridge, ready for us to do nothing. And this is the magic of using a Banneton. Now you're really gonna be baking on your own terms. So I could bake this at 7 a.m., it'll be ready. I could bake this tomorrow at noon, that would be fine. I could wait till 2 hours before dinner and bake it, and then we'd have fresh baked bread for dinner. I could wait 48 hours if I really wanted to, but that's pushing it. So having it cold proofing or retarding, slowing down everything, makes it so baking bread is not this thing that is just imposing itself on your schedule. So I'll see you when it's time to bake this. What will it be? 3 to 3 is about 12 hours, maybe 9 a.m. So maybe 18 hours from now, something like that. And we'll bake some bread.